We have some diverse panelists here, and who will be moderated by Mr. Kaushik Bellani. He's one of the tech ed consultants and outgoing MD for McGraw Education. The panelists are Santeri Koivisto. I don't know if I said that right, but he's the founder and CEO of 5 More Minutes and Teacher Gaming. He's here from Finland. Aptly for the Future of Learning session. We have Priyadeep Sinha, who is the co-founder of Kidovators and Gyan Labs. We have Akshata, Udiaver, Content Partnerships, YouTube Family and Learning, and as I already mentioned, Kaushik will be moderating the session. Thank you so much. Please join us on the stage.
And it's going to give me a proud privilege to address the last session of the Tech Review Summit. We've got 3 interesting panelists, and we're talking about the future of learning, right? Whatever sessions we've heard of earlier, apparently AR, VR, and machine learning will take over everything. All the jobs will get taken over by machine learning, and everything will get done by robots and chatbots. Why do we need to learn? Right? So that's the question. But jokes aside, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask 3 of my panelists on their views of their view of future of learning, and for about 5-7 minutes, and then pitch in with my comments and questions, and then throw it open to the audience. As I can see, end of the second day, but the audience is ready to go. So I'll make sure I make time for you as well, for your inputs and comments. So if I want to start with all of you, maybe Santeri, you can start. The question to all of you is, if you had a crystal ball in terms of guessing the future, and say 15, 20 years hence, what's the future of learning according to you, and what do you think you would be doing then?
Well, quite a small question. So I would say that one mechanic that would be much more clearer and effective is the informal and formal learning. So I'm sure that schools are currently in crisis in reinventing themselves, especially in the West, and I'm sure that will land here very, very quickly. When that happens, like whether that's games or YouTube or sports, whatever kids are doing at home with their parents, with their friends, all of that is considered worthwhile, valuable. They understand it themselves, and there are resources that they can get support, not only in a facilitated environment, but also back at home. And then I would say that teachers will become, of course, more facilitators. I don't think that AI or machine learning will be replacing teachers anytime soon. Just a couple facts there are that the human care and the being there is something that computers are far from replacing. And that's why doctors are not losing their job either. And at the same time, only like 5 to 10% of us, unfortunately, are currently so passionate about learning that they could do it without active facilitation. So in that sense, not all kids could go online and just learn with an AI. They need a teacher, sort of a third adult, to help with them. But so I think that the role is changing.
Okay, so one good thing, the teachers are going to be there, but a different role, right? In your future, as you see. Akshata, what according to you is the likely future of learning? Welcome to Delhi and the polluted air.
I feel that we need to actually look at the basics, which is learning will be more accessible for all and more affordable for all. Because we're so focused on innovation and being at the cutting edge and everything, we're losing sight of a lot of the basics, which is making education and making learning, especially in India, making it accessible to everyone, and not just accessible, also affordable. Because you do have a lot of great stuff happening, but it's not within everybody's means. So I think the focus is going to shift to making that possible. The other thing is everybody talks about disruption. We're constantly talking about disrupting this industry, disrupting that technology and so on. But I think in the future, we ideally, it's a very idealistic way of looking at it, we should be focusing on adapting more than disrupting. Because while we focus so much on disrupting things, we lose sight of the end goal. Why are we doing what we're doing? So I feel it's very important to see what we're trying to achieve And a lot of times those means, those facilities are there, and what they need is a slight tweak and not going back to the drawing board. No, you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. And we are seeing this on a platform like YouTube as well, because that's where I come from, where the platform was not really designed for anything other than just video sharing. That's how it started off. It became a platform for entertainment. But it's very interesting to see, especially in India, how people have taken to this platform and they're using it to disseminate knowledge. There are people who have passion for teaching and they are getting on the platform, creating their own channels just to teach. And this teaching ranges from early learning like your ABC and rhymes, to curriculum-based middle school learning, to higher education where a lot of test preps are happening for your civil service exams, NEET, all of that. And then there is lifelong learning, which is anything, any how-to, you find it on YouTube. So I think going forward, I'm sure a lot of other things will happen, but it's also my optimistic view that we will focus on making things more accessible to all, more affordable for all, and not make sure that it's being adopted by everyone.
So according to Akshata, you're saying affordability and accessibility, right? So future, so Priyadeep, you run a 21st century skills organization. Obviously in the 21st century, right? You don't have to, you have to drop that 21st century. But why don't you talk about future of learning from your perspective?
I think I'm very optimistic about where learning is going, from what we had in the past and what it's going to look like in 5-10 years from now. From my perspective, because I work with school kids, I think the fundamental thing that I have learned is that if you leave them alone, they're going to figure their shit out. That's how good they are. We adults look forward to being the future of learning.
That's it's already said, right? Curiosity killed the cat, but it made sure the child really learns, right? I'm reminded of the experiment which Dr. Sugata did. I'm sure all of you would have heard of Dr. Sugata from NIT earlier. And he had the hole-in-the-wall concept, and he left kids with the computer, and obviously they learned much faster. And the second stage of that was a granny cloud, a virtual school where adults coach the students across. But thanks for your inputs, and it's going to be fun. A couple of questions to you, and Santeri, since I commented on your company, why is your company called 5 Minutes More? Are you Indian by any chance? Because every Indian keeps saying 2 minutes and 5 minutes more.
Yeah, the name comes from Mom, 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
When they want to play or do something fun.
Okay, so that's what I want to hear. How do you make sure the moms and dads allow kids to learn with games now and in the future?
Well, already when I was a kid, most of the historical information that I recall from my memory come from games.
Okay.
All the small details. I remember the pillars of Greek from our history classes, but not much more.
Okay.
And I was in the perfect Finnish school utopia, and still. But I think that the overall attitude towards games as a media that a lot of kids are consuming a lot nowadays is getting sort of more positive all the time. But one of the big sort of disruptions, I'm sorry to use that word, but that binaries that click in parents' head is when, of course, everybody would like to get their kids spend their time as valuable as possible. But parents tend to be quite lost when it comes to games because their kids want to do only the game. And now I don't personally think that we can reduce game time at home when using it at school, but the phenomena that we have seen all across is that when in schools they are playing games, let's say about running a government or running a space program, and then when the kid goes to home and asks, hey mom, we were playing this game in school about running our government, can I get it home? Typically the parents are very happy, and after that, when they see that their kids are no longer shooting people or driving over people, although I think Grand Theft Auto is a great game, they tend to send back to the school a message that, thank God you guys are doing something, we're completely lost, and now my kid is launching rockets and learning about physics at home.
Okay. So, they also, if they are assured that the kids are learning and doing the right thing. So you're closing. The reason I ask is because a lot of learning in the future is going to be demanded by the ecosystem, the stakeholders, the parents, and the people who are paying, is that we close the loop. And we heard Asti talk about the data part and the analytics. So is there, in your future of learning, on the content part or on your platform or your games, how are you closing the loop on metrics of learning? How are you making sure that whatever tool they use, either games or content or videos or projects, how do you close the loop with learning benefits? Anybody?
I think, from our perspective, just to enlighten the audience on what we exactly do, we ran a program this year which was focused on creativity. Now, as absurd as it may sound as a topic in itself, what we were saying is that, let's say you are free to do whatever you want when given a problem statement. What would you do? Is what we were asking the kids. And interestingly, one of the questions was actually asking them what would you think is the interiors of a car going to look like in a decade from now? And they actually and the kids have no inhibition. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things of learning. At that age, no inhibition at all. They placed a nuclear reactor along with a sauna and jacuzzi and whatnot into the car. And we didn't tell them this is not possible. It is possible because they are there to imagine that. Our job is so we were obviously, creativity has been a topic for about 60 years now, and there are disputable ways to measure it. We are using one of the ways, adding our own layer on top of it, but the essence remains that we are allowing them to believe from their perspective that whatever you think of is a possibility. And I think the measurement is for us, and it's for us to understand the child in a better way. But for the kids, in a sense, they need to just start believing, because that takes care of a lot of problems from their perspective when they're looking at learning.
Yeah, Santeri, you want to add?
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind is that you get what you measure. So if you want to measure like how many formulas from your last math class the students were able to memorize, then a multiple choice question or something like that is perfectly fine. You don't need an AI or any data things to verify that. Skill progress, of course, is something that happens over years, especially when it comes to collaboration or problem solving. That's like a long period of time, and really the teacher needs to be sensitive in that type of development and sort of over a course of time to have the qualitative assessment there. And I know that there are already tools, the data tools to track that. But one challenge with the data tools, also the ones that we are working with, is that the dashboards in the West, like 1% of teachers actually open the data dashboard.
Okay. And why do you think that is the case? Does that tell you something about the teacher psyche? Whether they really believe that or not?
That's a very good question, and this is something that all around in our industry, people tend to say that this is happening. Well, at least for us, we try to help the teacher to always assess every lesson, every course in a more qualitative way, where you have the conversation with your student about what they picked up, what they understood. And of course, we can bring in data that shows, okay, this is what the computer thinks that your kids were learning, and these are the sort of the progression. Okay, it took this much time at the beginning for your student to, for example, achieve something in a game, for example, and after a while they achieved it this time, or maybe they got a greater score or a lot less traffic flow problems in a city simulator, something like that. But really, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have any ideas.
So, I'm going to jump in there. What we've seen is that if you create the content properly with the right tagging in terms of what you're measuring, you will get the results. And it happens over a period of time, and you really need to be patient about it. And the real reason we've seen teachers do not really open those dashboards, they are scared that this looks like their report card. And so teachers need to be also involved in the process of, how to live with the new way of teaching with data, which they've not been used, and it's new for everyone.
Yeah. From a teacher's perspective, I'd like to add that purely in India, they're very focused on completing the syllabus. It is their mandate, and they are judged on the basis of whether they can complete that syllabus or not. So doing anything in addition to that is a burden for them.
Yes.
So whatever tools we provide, whatever systems we are building around that should supplement what the teacher is doing, and the impact is seen or it can be measured in the results that the students are bringing out. So while there are ways to measure using data, like even for instance content that is there on a platform like YouTube, you can look at how many hours of content was watched, you can look at the comments the students are leaving, and in fact for most education creators, they gauge not on the basis of anything other than the comments they receive, where students actually tell them that, look, this really helped me and I benefited. I didn't understand this in my class, but I understood better when you explain using whatever method. So I think whatever we build is supplementing existing education models.
Santeri, you want to come in?
Yeah, so something that what we have seen happen a lot of time with videos or games or something like interactive, where the teacher role changes, is that the teachers have an idea that, okay, now I put the kids play a game, then I leave the class, or then I go and check the last report card or something like that. No, please don't do that. I mean, there is one thing that we are taking off your table, and that's sort of the active, sort of being the talking head in the class. Now, you don't have to worry about that. You need to worry about what type of problems they are having, helping them solve problems, what type of social issues, maybe they are fighting, maybe they are over something, you should be helping them with that, understanding things. There are so many roles that you still stick with, although you are letting go one. And now is not the time to leave the class.
So from being in front of the blackboard to being among the students, but you facilitate learning, right? So, coming back to the other elements, we've been talking about content, we've been talking about gaming and other elements. What do you think would be, what about the institutions? Do you think in the future, for example, schools will remain the way they are? Or college will they remain the way universities? Do you really need to be spending 4 years to do a program or 3 years for some other program? Do you think that will remain?
From my, and this is completely my opinion and always open to dispute, but the way I look at schools, in the current form, they might probably live longer, but colleges in the current form have a shorter life for sure. I mean, the way I look at it, because the access to knowledge has changed so dramatically, and it's going to even keep doing so in the next few years. Is that once you have learned how to learn, it's going to be very easy for you to acquire any kind of knowledge. And that's
learning how to learn, you learn during the formative years of the school.
Right.
That
yes.
may remain in the same form, different classrooms, flipped classrooms, etc. But colleges, you feel, are a lot more threatened.
Absolutely. Or they might sort of merge together, make larger entities. Something's going to happen for sure in the next 5-10 years, according to me.
So for all you entrepreneurs out there, the news is build data tracking or measuring tools which assist learning, and also work in the higher ed space, because that is more endangered by your point.
If you look back in history, the basic structure of it hasn't really changed, in the sense you go back to absolute, like the origin of schools, it was always like there's a teacher and there are students, whether it's the Gurukul system or any of this.
Yeah.
So that basic structure won't change, but how that knowledge is being imparted or exchanged, that will see an evolution. So just to give you an example, if you look at Khan Academy, they came up with Zoom. So where, like what you said, the learning through videos was actually happening at the homes of the students. So the teacher actually tells them, this is the topic I'm going to discuss in class next week. So the kids go home, they look at these lessons, they learn, but they have questions. Maybe they don't understand something, or they have, it makes them inquisitive about something else. So the classroom is used for the teacher to clear those doubts. So the teacher is not wasting time reading out from a textbook or teaching and using up all of that time, but the students go learn at their own pace, come back and get their doubts resolved. And then the classroom is also
that of facilitator. So instead of meeting like every week, it could be probably like a monthly conclave or something like that. So they are learning on their own, in a sense they are being led, and they are very intelligent, because then they can actually pace themselves, because somebody is going ahead of the others, because he can do that much more. And if he cannot do that much more, then he is automatically slowed down, because the assessment will be like a, like a adaptive engine kind of a thought process there.
Thanks for the great picture of the future. What's any question?
Yeah, specific question for Santeri. Um, so basically you are into games and gamification of education. Now I imagine the games that you develop, they are obviously towards some educational objectives, right? They are not random games. They are games curated, developed for a specific purpose in the context of some delivery of education. So the question is, how easy or difficult it is to embed learning objectives inside of games? Because you want the...
Basically, our interest is in connecting to that game and then drawing data from that and basically building up a class situation where the teacher can introduce a topic, then the students can go into Angry Birds, experiment with the topic, and then the teacher has like questions to reflect, like what did you learn, how did this connect to the...
And learn about projectiles in parabola.
Yeah.
Maths and physics, right?
But we can take the more details.
Yeah. But the other companies have done is they've used the learning objective as projectiles of physics or objects going up and down, and used Angry Birds as a game as a learning object or a learning content to explain that. And then measure whether they learned and put questions and probes on projectiles and then whether they learned it or not. Right? One last question, two last questions. Then we come back to you guys in the center there. There, the gentleman there.
Is basically the systems which is the elementary basic knowledge being imparted through various stages and various developmental process. No doubt, when you come to a higher education level, because we are talking about the future learning, when you come to the higher education, you have to have a fittest of the survival, because now you are into a market. You are into a global world where knowledge is not left only to understanding. It has to be into a, you have to be at par. So there you cannot equate both of them, and as he said that schools are going to exist and higher education institutions or universities, they are under the threat. That is a common phenomena all across the globe. It is not only individualized to
Can you name a big institution which is closed down?
I am not saying closed down, but I am saying the big institutions coming to the country where they are having more demands over there.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
I thought you had data.
I'll not say, but see, this is how even the West, how if you see the Harvard or you see the Yale, they also want to come and get their centers open in India. But if they are so competent, they don't want anything, then why do they want to come? Because they also require the
learners, then the skill you're training them on doesn't matter, because they'll teach themselves later on when that skill becomes obsolete. So, I hope that's the future of education.
Shivani, thank you for painting that future of education very eloquently. And on that note, being a very nice panel and bringing diverse views to the table. Thank you very much.